And welcome in here to the Skyhawk Sports Talk podcast. Davis Gregory here with me, Chris Brinkley, for yet another episode here at Zaxby's in Martin, Tennessee. Basketball season has come to a close. We'll talk to head coach Jeremy Shulman, assistant coach Sally Hahn, and then Kevin McMillan of the women's basketball team as well, get their thoughts and see what some of their off-season plans are. Then also we get into this week in Skyhawk Athletics, a ton going on. Baseball will face off against number 25 Auburn at Toyota Field in Madison, Alabama tomorrow at 6 p.m. Then they'll hit the road and play Western Kentucky this weekend at 6, 4, and 1 Friday, Saturday, Sunday, respectively. Softball, it'll be their home opener for conference against Lindenwood. We'll have Kennedy and Kyrsten Brown joining us on the show later. Saturday doubleheader at 2 and then 4:30, and then Sunday at noon. Golf at the People's Golf Championship at Sea Palms Golf Club in St. Simons Island, Georgia. Wouldn't we all like to be in St. Simons as the weather's starting to really turn nice? Thursday through Saturday there for the Skyhawk golf team. Rodeo will be at the East Mississippi Community College Friday through Saturday. Track and field at the Rhodes Invitational Friday through Saturday. Beach volleyball, a big slate for them coming up in the weekend at the Sugar Beach Bash in Youngsville, Louisiana. They'll have Southern Miss on Friday at 9, Spring Hill College on Friday at 1, New Orleans on Saturday at 9, and then Southeastern Louisiana at 3 p.m. on Saturday. For STUNT, it'll be the home opener, Central Arkansas at 11:15 a.m. on Saturday, Centenary at 3:15 p.m. on Saturday, and then Missouri State 11:15 a.m. on Sunday, followed up by Northern Kentucky at 3 p.m. on Sunday. Jam-packed week here at UT Martin. A couple home games with softball and STUNT too. Make sure to come out to those.
Yep, and you are right. There are a couple things going on.
Just a few. We've just got a little busy week here in the 731. We'll go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll have head coach Jeremy Shulman and Sally Hahn of the UT Martin men's basketball team join us here on Skyhawk Sports Talk.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
Skyhawk Sports Talk podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
Back on Skyhawk Sports Talk, Davis Gregory here with me. Chris Brinkley joining us now, head coach of the UT Martin men's basketball team. Jeremy Shulman, as the Skyhawks got their first OVC tournament win of the Shulman era, beating Tennessee Tech in the first round, and then gave Little Rock a great game in that quarterfinal. Coach, incredible season for your first year at UT Martin for team number one to go out there and kind of turn some heads there in that OVC tournament in Evansville.
Well, I was not looking forward to this podcast today because this I knew was after the season ended.
Yeah.
And it's just hard, and don't get me wrong, I am so enthusiastic about the season we had. We had a great season. We defied expectations. We exceeded expectations. The future is super bright, but this team, I won't coach them again.
Yeah.
Right.
This exact team, I won't coach them again. And that's sad because you know how much I love these guys, the battles we went through, the year we had, how close we were to having not just a really good season, but an exceptional season. And I won't coach them again. And so that's sad. But also very, I think as the next week or so, moves on a little bit more, I think I'll be able to, look back on the season a little bit more rather than just being sad that it's over and look back at just the success we had and the amazing moments and stuff that we had. But I'm not quite to that point yet. I'm a little bit more aware.
Well, sometimes sadness can turn into gratitude. Hey, I'm really grateful for what you did because, again, I don't think you overachieved, but I didn't really have expectations because I had no idea. Yeah. But you certainly superseded my expectations.
Well, I appreciate that. It's just these guys were just unbelievable, and talking about gratitude, I'm just so grateful for every one of them. It was a long year. These guys really worked their tails off. The amount of hours they put in, the amount of film sessions, the amount of time in the weight room, the amount of travel we had. Not having a Division I home game until 2025. Yeah. Not even having one Division I home game in 2024. Just so grateful for these guys to go through the grind and represent UT Martin basketball in the way they did.
Yeah.
And a young team throughout the season that we talked about. And I think in the press conference, too, with Afon and Andrea, 2 sophomores, correct?
Yeah.
Both showed great maturity in their answers and everything like that and the growth. When you look at the team, and even for some of those upperclassmen, what's some of the growth that you noticed from them from that first practice that you had in the summer and then in the fall, too, leading up to the season? Because Chris and I talked, after the game, it's, you go from November all the way to March, and you go hard the whole time. But then we don't even see what happens in the offseason and the recruiting and player development and things like that. How much has this team grown to be able to get to that point, to beat a very good Tennessee Tech team in the first round, and then just come, moments away from beating a Little Rock team. Good Little Rock team.
I think we really grew a lot in so many ways, but I think it was just the way we handled adversity, and even third game of the year was our first test of adversity. We were at North Alabama, who obviously was on ESPN yesterday in the championship game of their conference. Very good team. And we're playing North Alabama, and I might be off by 2 points. It was a 2-point or tied game at halftime. It was right there. And then second half, we faced our first adversity. And we didn't handle it well, loud crowd, loud environment, obviously a heck of a team. And so we lost, and it wasn't the second shot, even though, we're tied at halftime. So the growth that we've had, and then to get into the Tennessee Tech game and get down and then be able to come back and win that game. The Little Rock game to go up by 8, but then they went on this crazy run and we go down 7, but we don't fold. And then, we take a lead again second half, and then we just lose right down the stretch right at the end. Just the growth of fighting through adversity. And I'm proud of our guys for that.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
I always ask coaches this when the season's over. What game will you remember 10 years from now? What game do you wish you had back? And what was your most complete game?
That's what a great question that is.
Those 3 questions.
All right.
The game you'll
Illinois
remember.
State's. I know I just talked about our growth, but still, the first game, Illinois State, is absolutely the one I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. I'll remember most of them because that's the way my mind works. But that Illinois State game, my first ever Division I game, the first game for this team, at UT Martin with all these new international guys, no one knows what to expect. Illinois State finished Ken Palm 120th in the country. That was a big-time Quad 2 win for us. OVC only got 2 Quad 2 wins all year, and we were one of the 2 Quad 2 wins, along with Western Illinois beating San Jose State on the road. And so to beat Illinois State in front of 5,000 screaming fans, I was in tears before the game. I was holding back tears before the game, just, first game coaching without my mom there. And then I was holding back tears after the game. Yeah. And that game was just so ridiculously special. The second one is, what game would you like to have back? Honestly, unfortunately, because all the 1-point losses, a lot of them. There's probably 7 of them I'd love to have back. There's a bunch of them. I kind of lump a lot of those in together, especially those 7 conference ones. Obviously, the Longwood on the road also, where they led for 3 seconds. It was unfortunately the last 3 seconds of the game. And the Alabama State game, we lose in overtime. And, there's so much heartbreak. There's a lot I'd love to have it over. And then what was the third one?
The most complete game. What's the best game you played this year?
Southern Indiana.
Yeah, that's the game I'll never forget.
Yeah, that one
I'll never forget that first half.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't think there's – if I could bottle that up, I don't know if I'd even have to coach him, or I would just sell that to coaches. But that one, that Southern Indiana game, to go 52-15 at half against a team that beat Indiana State, a team that was up all game against DePaul and lost in overtime to DePaul, that game was just a perfect storm of the system working, the belief, and the buy-in before some of those 1-point losses really chipped away at it.
And in that first half, I told Davis multiple times, I'm like, what they did offensively is amazing. But what they did defensively, even more amazing. Yes. You held them to 15 points.
Again, belief is such a powerful thing. We talk about it so often in this program. But we believed, even through the adversity of first semester, we believed so much at that point. And it was just come off 2 days before losing a 1-point overtime loss to Moorhead. Yeah. But we believed, and it just showed. And unfortunately, the break almost came at a wrong time for us. And it just kind of the excitement, the energy, the momentum of that just kind of went away a little bit during the Christmas break. And then to come back and then have, another heartbreaker against Little Rock. And then followed up with a great SEMO win. But it just started to chip away a little bit with those 1-point losses.
This is a strong foundation that has been laid. And then with players coming back to 14 wins, that's third most for a first-year team in UT Martin history. Yeah. You swept the OVC tournament champion SA. First of all, congratulations to them on winning it. But you swept them, beat them there in front of what was probably, one of my favorite crowds to call a game in front of all year on the road. Went 3-1 against the top 2 seeds, and then got to the final 6 of that OVC tournament. How do you build off of that foundation? Because you've laid those foundations before in your coaching career. What are the steps then to, we're taking it to another level?
That's not easy. That's something that I've talked to my wife, Evie, so much about recently. Like, now how do we take the next step? Like that, obviously we fell a little short on some of these games that we wanted to do this year. But now the real challenge comes into how do you take the foundation we've had and take the next step to being a 20-plus win team, a team that can win the conference championship next year, regular season and tournament championship, while everyone else is trying to get better, especially in this day of NIL where not easy to retain guys, where everyone else – other teams in our league have big NIL budgets now, and they're going to go and basically buy some players out of the portal. How do we take the next step while everyone else is also trying to take the next step? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I do know because we're putting together a nice plan to make that happen, but it's hard. But it's exciting.
But now you know what this league looks like, and you know what it takes to win in this league.
Yeah. We've got to – I'll tell you what. We have to – just staying with who we are, we have to have – and our team had good basketball IQ, but we need to get better with that. We need a team with great basketball IQ. We fell a little short of that. That's one of our 4 team goals. We had some good shooting, but we didn't have good enough shooting. We need to really step up our shooting. There's no doubt about it, both through recruitment and development. And then in addition to that, we've got to get a little bigger and more athletic. Bigger doesn't always have to be height, but length, size. I mean, the OVC is a huge league.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh. I mean. So we've got to get bigger and longer and as well, and positionally. And so how do you do all of those things, with just, development on returnees and only a few scholarships to fill those needs? Woo!
Yeah.
you got to take the right steps. I got to play GM as well as coach right now.
2K GM.
Yes, absolutely.
Get my GM
absolutely.
going.
I got to put on my Brad Stevens Boston Celtics hat.
Yes.
Right.
And you mentioned developing players right there, and then in your opening press conference talked about that as well. What's that process look like in the offseason for the guys that are still here, but then also some of those talented freshmen and then transfers that you could have coming in? How do you take the next step in helping them develop their game?
Well, it starts with, from a coaching staff, we've got to believe. I mean, and I talked to our staff already a lot about that this week. It's so easy in recruiting right now. Not to get the right player, but it's so easy to go in recruit because it's fun. What coach doesn't want to go recruit and be on the road or go to nice locations and look at these new fancy players that are all perfect? They've all got perfect personality, perfect games. That's not real. That's not reality. Now we need to find the right ones to bring in, but we've got the right guys here. So we have to believe that first before you can really develop that as much as possible. We were just talking about like Carlos Cortillo, for example. Cortillo has stuff he's got to work on. I mean, he shot 17% from 3 this year, which not a math guy anymore, but I don't think that's great. But he also was second on our team in plus minus, and he started in some huge wins for us. And he was only a sophomore, and he won 27 games as a freshman in junior college. So he's the right guy. But we as a staff, for one, have to believe, and number two, now we got to take the right steps. How do we develop? There's one thing to say we got to develop his shooting. Okay, well, how? Like, what's the plan to do it? We've got to develop, his ball handling a little bit more. Okay, how? Like, why? Is it more left hand, more right hand? Is it more manipulating the ball? Is it more with his footwork to go along with his crossover? Like, we know the how. And then he's got to get a little stronger in the weight room. Okay, well, how? Because his parents aren't real big. So putting together that plan, great parents, by the way, but they're not exactly, Hulk Hogan.
Right.
Yeah.
So
well, no, you've done exactly like I use. There's a system called the RPM method, and R stands for result. What result do you want? P, what's your purpose? Both of those. Yeah. And then A, what's the action plan? And then with your circumstances, sometimes you can change them, sometimes you can't. So if you can't change your circumstances, which is his size, you have to come up with an action plan that can change the perspective or make him better in different kind of ways. No, you're doing everything.
Absolutely.
I'm impressed. No, I mean,
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But I'm so big into development. I believe in our guys. But if we think we're just going to go and sign like new players and just all of a sudden just be better for that reason, I mean, that's not the right mentality.
Yeah.
We've got to, bring in the right other guys, absolutely, but we've got to develop our guys.
You're also very used to working with guys for only a couple of years, right?
Yeah, which again, we'll see, but we're still hoping that will change. Like Carlos Cortillo, I hope he graduates at UT Martin, and then I would have coached him 4 years, 1 year at Eastern and 3 years at UT Martin. Same thing with Andrea Bukamervich, same thing with Afon Trenka. And so even though I'm used to dealing with guys just for a year or 2 years, I am hoping that we can blend here. I know it's not the way it used to be, where you have, you just bring guys in as freshmen and they play 4 or 5 years here, including redshirt year, and then that's it. That's not the way of the world now. But I don't think it's also, hey, we're just the new age junior college either. That's not the way it is here. We're just bringing in 12 new guys every year.
Right.
We just have to have the blend of the right guys that can bring up and develop and believe and graduate here. Piece them together with the right guys. And then sometimes guys will honestly be too good for our level and they'll get poached by a bigger school. And that's just the lay of the land. That's fine. So there's a balance on that.
Yeah.
And final one for you, year one, the fan base. How have you seen that grow and their support, for you and the Kathleen and Tommy Lindsay, and then just throughout this season as well?
I absolutely thought it grew throughout. I think we'd mentioned it one time before, but I think there were some real question marks coming in. Brand new coach, had never been in Division I before. Got all these international guys. What is this going to look like? And so I think we made a lot of believers. I think you saw that in the crowd, saw it in the fans. But that's something I'm also passionate to continue to grow. The fan base, and make this West Tennessee's team, not just Martin's teams. Make this Union City's team also. Make this Dresden's team. Make this Dyersburg's team. Make this Jackson's team.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be a real thing I want to grow because we're the closest Division I school, obviously, to all those areas. So how to grow the fan base, how to get people excited, how to make the even just the games themselves, just the atmosphere around there, how to continue to make the atmosphere at Elam even better. These are big things on our list for this spring and for the summer because we want the best home atmosphere in all of OVC basketball.
There we go.
And Chris, you've heard the Elam Center too. Even when it's about 55% full, it can get rowdy.
Yeah.
It can get loud and rowdy.
It can, absolutely.
Coach, thanks so much for picking UT Martin. We're so happy you're here. We're looking forward to 2025-26.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
y'all.
We'll go ahead and take a break. Keep it right here, Skyhawk Sports Talk.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
Skyhawk Sports Talk Podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
We're back here, Skyhawk Sports Talk at Zaxby's in Martin, Tennessee. Davis Gregory here, Chris Brinkley, and a debut for us here on Skyhawk Sports Talk. Chris, our first stunt athlete joining us.
That's
this
right.
is Emily Hartley from the UT Martin Stunt Team, junior from Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So, a big weekend for you all. Home
Yes,
opening
sir.
weekend. So, 2023, they were exhibitions, but this is going to be the first time there's a regular season meet. What are some of the, excitement levels and emotions you all are feeling heading into this weekend?
It's definitely really exciting. I think we're really excited to go against the teams we're going against because there's 3 people in our division, D1, and 2 of them we haven't gone against at all this yet. So I'm excited to go against them and see how we are and then see how we excelled from our last tournament. So I'm really excited.
Yeah,
and so is the
awesome.
team.
And a lot of hard work coming together for this. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What are the practices like? What have you done to prepare?
We've looked over our previous games and then how to lessen the deductions, stepping, movements, and then technique, how to perfect that into looking better against another team, and getting more levels. So there's 1 through 8, and getting higher levels, so we're able to compete at a higher level against other teams as well.
Fantastic. So this is a new sport now to UT Martin. So were you on the cheer team when stunt became a thing, or?
I was on the first year,
You were on
the
the first- okay.
2023,
Okay.
the exhibition.
Okay.
So I've seen that grow, and we've definitely excelled since then. At the beginning, we only had levels 1 through 3, and then towards the end of our season, we had levels 4, and then we're up there in level 5, and then we have level 7 in partner stunts, and 6 in tumbling. So we definitely excelled in the levels.
So going to Rockvale High School, what were some of cheer competitions? Were those so? What's kind of the similarities between that and then stunt? Is it completely the same thing, or are we talking about a whole different game?
It's similar in the stunting
Okay.
and then the tumbling. Yes, you do stunting and tumbling, but it's the different aspect because you wipe completely off from cheering. You're not hoorah, go your team
Right.
at all. It's once with cheer competing, you're not going against someone right beside you.
Yeah.
With stunt, you're going someone right beside you. And it's more of working on technique. You're not allowed to step during stunts or pyramids at all in stunt. And it also works on technique, sticking and standing and the sharpness. That's not really a focus on with cheer. It's hitting a stunt, but not clean.
Right.
What's it like? Are you totally blocking out the competitor beside you, or are you paying attention?
you're not paying attention, but sometimes I'm like, did they hit too? Like I do side eye the other team just a little bit, but sometimes I'm locked in and focusing on myself. Yes.
Because that's a lot going on at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. What are your, and I've talked to Coach about this, what are your preferences with the music? Because you don't control the music.
No. Some of them I do like. I feel like they're more like competitive, and some of them are like really high pitch. It's like, singing.
Yeah.
But some of them I feel like get me locked in, and I'm like, I'm focusing on this skill.
So how many times do you hear these songs?
Not that often. I'm
Oh,
more,
okay.
Like, well, we do hear them, but like during the competition, I'm not focused and locking
gotcha.
to them. But we do hear them throughout like practices as we're going through our routines.
Do some of them become your favorite songs or least favorite songs based on
Yes.
Because then you have a different emotional. It's like when people used to put songs as their ringtones. They learned to hate those songs because their favorite song made them wake up in the morning. So then it became their least favorite song. So for you have an emotional connection to this music that might be different than others.
Last year, I know our team had a very strong connection to level 3. Pyramid, I think it's the same throughout level 3, but it had like Let's Get Wild, and everybody like got wild and excitement going into this level 3.
Yeah.
Like it's really exciting.
Yeah. We need a new theme song.
We do for the podcast. A new theme song. So if y'all hear something this weekend, it's going on. It's our new intro song. That's how we're going to introduce a new song for the podcast.
Yes.
And getting to learn this new sport, what was the process like in figuring out, okay, this is what gets us the most points, this is what gets us the least points? I know that's kind of a bare bones type of way to describe it, but what was the process like in learning this new sport?
It was very difficult learning because it was new to everyone, and nobody
Yeah,
really,
even the judges, right?
Yeah. Like everybody was very confused on what it was. Like us as like a new sport, like at UTM as a new team, we were very confused, and we didn't really understand it until we like watched it for the first time, and even into our first game. Like we didn't realize really what it was until we played our first game. And that was whenever like we realized like seeing us against another team like helped us, because we're like, this is what they do better. Like this scores better because like the cleanness of it. So we need to try and do that compared to that. So like just really focusing on the little things and stunt.
And when you develop some of these routines, how do you do that? How do you develop a strategy that's going to get you above that other team in terms of the point category?
So one thing that the judges were like, you don't want the judges to look at your team. Like you don't want to do anything that makes you stand out. Like you want to look all unison. So some things that we do to like maybe like make it look clean is like certain head nods or like cleaning on a certain count in a certain way for like our team to look unison, which may not be what the other team does, but it like makes us look more unified.
It's interesting because so anything that's distracting could take them out of what you're doing as a team. Is that right?
Like if somebody swings their arm at a different time than somebody else on the team that isn't supposed to be on like a certain count, it might draw the attention to the team.
It takes them out of it.
Yeah, and be like,
but
that
when
could
we
be a
watch it
deduction.
and it's so fluid and perfect, it looks easy, but it's got to be the hardest thing in the world. Like very few, like we see dance teams and cheer teams all over the country, and some are really good, and then when one person's out of sync, you can tell.
Yeah.
But how hard is it to get that? I mean, it's just repetition and
doing it over and over again, because at the beginning, like you can learn the skill and be able to do it, but as the season goes on, you're going to have to perfect it to like hold and stick and hold that position and then move on to the next one. So it's less of a flowy motion. It's more of like a hit, hold, dip, and then go into the next motion.
Is it almost like do you sing?
Do I sing?
Yeah.
No.
But
Not that talented.
when people sing in harmony, it's like beautiful, and you're like, wow. And then, but when a choir is singing and one person's off, it's very noticeable. And then hearing people who are in choirs, they feel like this higher sense of energy. Does it happen whenever you know you're clicking as a team? Do you feel that?
Yes, mainly in pyramids, because like we're all together and like we're able to see like, oh, they did good, and I'm like, I need to do really good at this other part, and I'm like, we need to hit this, because like I feel like we'll all be like accomplished in some sense whenever we all hit in and come together. Yep.
So it all elevates everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's your favorite routine? Which one do you like the best?
I like level 7. It's level 7 stunts, because as like routines go up, like levels, it's less stunt groups that do it. It goes like 3 stunt groups that do it, 2 stunt groups, and then 1 stunt group does it. And my stunt group right now is working level 7. And we did it last year, but we're in a different like stunt group this year. And it's one of the difficult levels. Like it maxes out at 8, so it's towards the end. And I feel like I like it the most because it is difficult to me, so it like makes me strive for it to be better. And I enjoy it because I'm able to represent my team with that, because it's only 1 stunt group and not the entire team. So I'm proud to be chosen to be able to do it.
Yeah,
that's an honor. It
Yeah,
is.
That's
It
awesome.
really is. Chris kind of asked this question earlier, but when you go and you watch film and practice, what are the things that you're looking to correct? You talked about hand motions and stuff like that, but what are some other things for people that don't know stunt where it's like, oh, that was wrong and that needs to be corrected? Or what are some things that you all look to get right?
Like in toe touches, like feet pointed, hitting like the right body position in it, and tumbling, like no feet together, like your feet have to be together, feet together, and then like hitting certain body positions throughout it, and then like in the pyramids, making sure that like one side of the pyramid matches the other and goes at the same time, and then same as stunts, like everybody hits it at the same time.
Are you watching in slow motion?
Yes, like
Wow.
our coach says break it up like based on like the bottom people, which is the people on the ground. You watch their feet and then see whichever movement is in there, and then like try and fix on how as a whole like all 3 stunt groups could walk together, and then their hands, and then the flyers. Like we break it up like based on like bottom, top.
Yeah. Yeah, very cool.
There
Very
you go.
detailed.
And now there are more recruits coming in because this is a
Yes.
new sport, and coach is going to have to go out and sign some new people. I mean, how do you help the younger athletes who have never competed in this sport get adjusted?
It's really like a watch and a learn, like especially because they don't really know what the sport is. So like we have like people come, like we show them like our routines from last year and be like, this is what it is. And then like we go through and we help them learn the routines, and then hopefully they can get adjusted to it.
Yeah. Is it cool for you, the significance of being one of the originals?
Yes, I do
Yeah.
find it really cool.
Yeah.
Like just
No,
being
definitely.
able-
I mean, it's really
Yeah.
it's challenging yet
It is.
new and exciting. And if you could fast forward 20 years and look back, or fast forward 20 years and look in the present, what do you want to see this sport doing 20 years from now?
definitely wide streamed.
Yeah.
Like I want more people to know it, because like I go out and I'm like, I'm a stunt athlete, and people are like, huh? And I'm like, it's similar to cheer. Like I want
Yeah.
people to know what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully the coverage, social media, that will all
Yes.
continue to elevate the, I guess, attention that's paid to it. Yeah. Because it's a difficult sport.
It is.
And it takes a lot of work.
It does.
And only a few people can do it. I don't think that the majority of people have the ability to compete, to do what you do, but also do it in a competitive way that's got a lot of, because one of the difference part of what you're doing now is the mental part, right? Along with
Yeah.
the physical. And the physical's always been extremely difficult. But now the mental
Yes.
is
No, we got it.
equally tough. Yeah.
It's a home opener this weekend. We talked about it at the start. First time since 2023 that you're having a home stunt meet, which is a regular season meet. So, message to the fans here to get them to come out. Skyhawk Fieldhouse, right?
Yes.
We're having it in the Fieldhouse. So, your message to everyone to get everybody out there.
Come out and support. It's definitely something very interesting, and like it's something new that you can come out and see like the different aspects of adding into it.
You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, we're going to be there. We're
Yeah.
going to be ready to go. We're going to be ready. You want to paint up, Chris?
Yeah, I'm not painting up, but I'll be there.
If you paint up number 15, that's my number.
There you go.
I might do it then.
There we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
There's some Skyhawk spirit.
Yeah,
coming
that's
out.
right.
Emily, thank you so much for your time, and
Thank you.
good luck here this weekend.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and take a break. When we come back, more on Skyhawk Sports Talk.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
Skyhawk Sports Talk podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
We're back here, Skyhawk Sports Talk. Davis Gregory with Chris Brinkley, now joining us from the UT Martin softball team. Kennedy and Kyrsten Brown as UT Martin coming off a win in the series finale over the defending champion SEMO Redhawks. Big win there. Got a season best 7 stolen bases. Thank you all for joining us here today.
Thank you.
We know that we got to fit you into a tight schedule right now, so we're going to knock out our questions and get you all to where you need to be. So starting out first, just even before UT Martin, playing together, growing up together, I mean, as twins, I mean, obviously pretty tight, and you're doing everything together. What was that like?
It was pretty cool starting out. We were a catcher-pitcher duo.
Really?
We were.
I were the pitcher.
And I was
Okay.
catcher. And then we weren't very good at that. We played short and third, and it's really fun getting to play beside her. I feel like we know what she's gonna do with the ball all the time, and it's pretty cool getting to
I feel
know
like
that.
it's unique just playing beside the same person like your whole life. Because like if I dive, I know she's behind me,
Right.
or I know the balls she can get to and the balls I can't, and that communication is just there since like a young age.
We know
So
how
that's
you're
unique.
alike. How are you different?
That's a good
question. I don't really know.
Not at all?
N-
Okay.
no, yeah,
No,
we're
that's
pretty
good.
much the same.
Okay.
I mean, and that's got to be probably the best left side infield in the OVC in terms of
Yeah.
communications
Yeah.
defensively, because, like you said, okay, if I dive, I know she's got my
Yeah.
back, and I know what she's going to feel, what she's not going to feel.
Yeah.
And you've been doing it since back in Lexington, back in middle
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
and pick up balls.
Do you,
I mean,
can you communicate without talking?
Sometimes. A lot of the times, yeah.
Yeah.
are there like
sometimes
certain
no.
signals, or is it just
Not just
No.
thinking.
We just
No, I
know.
mean,
No.
it's the twin mindset?
Yeah.
it really
That's
is.
okay. Why softball for you all?
I don't really know. We tried other sports, but they just weren't as fun to us, I guess. We like more of the team sport, and that's softball. So I just think, I don't know, it just came naturally to us, and then that's what we've enjoyed. And just our family's just been a big softball family. Our town's a big softball town. So just all of that's just helped us continue with softball, I would say.
Yeah, getting to that Lexington. I mean,
Yeah,
both of you are pretty much
Lexington softball town.
legends in Lexington. I mean, you had 2 state runner-ups and then the state championship back in 2022. And talk about that time at Lexington High School and just y'all's experience. Only an hour out of Martin, so I mean, y'all know Northwest Tennessee pretty well, and
Yeah.
everyone here knows y'all pretty well too.
Yeah.
I would say in Lexington, we are a softball town. All of our friends played softball. So growing up from our freshman to our senior year, we played together. We played on the same travel ball team growing up. So communication, it was there all the time. And our freshman year, that was our mindset, is we want to win the state championship. And we got close 2 years, and we didn't quite get it. In our senior year, that was our goal. We ended up only losing one game that year.
One game that season.
So, I mean,
Yeah, the communication with the team were there. The bonds were there just because we had played travel ball middle school all the way up to high school. So our senior year, luckily for us, it all came together and we ended up winning the state tournament. But
Yeah. Are some of your teammates from there playing college softball now?
yes, we have 2 girls at Memphis, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Memphis, one at Tribeca, one.
there's 2 or 3 that went to Dyersburg State and
Yeah.
then they quit after that. But yeah.
2 were pretty talented.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a pretty loaded team.
We had a
Yeah.
good
It's
team.
very
We had a
important
really
stat.
good team.
Now, your journey to UT Martin, what was that like, the recruitment process, and then coming over here to Betty Giles Field to play college softball?
Yeah, I would say Martin, like when we first came for our first visit, just walking around the campus and like small town, same thing as our hometown, it was just like very welcoming and just something we was used to. So I feel like immediately after we stepped on campus, we was like, this is where we want to be, especially with softball. Once we got introduced to all the girls and stuff, we started bonding with them. It was all fine. We were pretty shy our freshman year, but after that, we just like bonded with them about the same and just the team mindset of all of it.
And I feel like also at Martin, the coaches looked at us as 2 individuals and not
Yeah.
as twins, which is very hard
Right.
growing up. And other colleges they were trying to get us together at the same time. And they were like, okay, I love this about you, I love this about you, and we want both of you, but
Yeah.
they wanted us separately.
Yeah, the option was we could have both of you or just one of you, but we want you as individuals, which was
Yeah.
a big thing for college because
Yeah.
a lot of coaches view you as one.
Yeah.
So,
and that was
that
a very
was-
subtle thing,
Yeah.
but obviously you paid a lot of attention
Yes,
to it.
for sure.
And it meant something, 100%.
Yeah.
It did.
And now getting into your coaching staff, Coach Farmer now in her first full year as head coach, but
Yes.
then coaching last year too. What's y'all's relationship like
Now
with
she's
her?
watching.
Now she's watching. Now the whole coaching staff's
You got
watching.
this one.
I would say from her assistant coach, she was always there after every bad game. I cried to her multiple times after my bad games, and she's always been there. And even now as head coach, she has picked that up. And if she ever sees I'm upset or anything, she's always texting me. She's always there for me, making sure we're okay.
Yeah, I just think the bond we built like since our freshman year too, as her being the assistant coach, it's just like grown and grown. And like I know I can go to her with certain things, and I know that we can actually have like a communication and like talk through things. And I think that's nice, especially as like a head coach.
So it's bigger than softball.
Yeah,
It is.
for sure.
It is.
This 2025 team, very young, but it seems like a very fun group to be around. What's the team chemistry been like as y'all build this up? And it's hard to believe that y'all are already in conference play.
Yes,
All right, that's crazy to think about. But what's the chemistry been like in building that up with such a young team?
I would say at first it was more about just getting to know everybody. I mean, it was hard. It was a brand new team. But, like, once we, like, started bonding a little bit, it kind of clicked. But we had to get to that part first. I would say once we started playing and stuff, we found, like, people's strengths, I guess. And so we played with people's strengths, and, like, we're just, like, trying to lift that up together and figure out what that is for conference play.
Yeah, I would say when we first got here, it was definitely separate because there was so many newcomers compared to, like, returners.
Yeah.
But throughout the fall, we had team bonding stuff, and we would have to talk to each other, have to mesh together, and I feel like that's helped a lot. And we found out people's personalities, who's the funny ones, who's here to be serious, and we figured that out too.
Yeah.
Favorite team bonding activity, real quick one.
Maybe we played pickleball.
Yeah, we did.
No,
We had-
pickleball, so much fun.
We
Yes,
had
it was so
pickleball
fun.
and like beach volleyball and stuff. I was horrible at beach volleyball and pickleball, but they were fun at least. But that was
Were y'all on the same team in
No,
pickleball? I'd
we
hate to
were
play
not.
you in doubles.
No, I was about to say now.
Neither one of us are very good, though, so you probably would have beat us.
we hit it too hard or foul or whatever.
What,
All
you
the
don't
rules.
you don't have hand-eye coordination? Come on, I know
what
that.
are you-
you
No,
already
I would
talked
just hit
about-
it this way. I couldn't hit it straight.
My trouble is I can't get the spin on it right
I think
now.
that
That's-
you're
that's
underrating yourself.
Okay,
Yes.
maybe.
And natural athletes, you're going to be good at something if you keep doing it. So, all right, last question for you. What is your favorite thing about each other?
Oh no. The way she looks, we look just alike. I don't know.
That was a cop out right there.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know. Just the way, I mean, she is my twin, but she is always there, obviously.
Yeah.
On the field, every time I mess up, she's looking at me and, like, she just gives me a look, and I feel like, okay, I have her right beside me.
I would say that, and just like knowing that I have her after practices because they're not always great. So just like knowing that I have her to go to, especially she knows me, I know her, so
Yeah.
we don't even have to really speak
Yeah.
to be there for each
No,
other.
you knew each other before you are who you are now.
Yeah.
That's
Yes,
exactly
for
right.
sure.
A home opener this week against Lindenwood. Ladies, good luck in that. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
Skyhawk Sports Talk podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
And we're back here, Skyhawk Sports Talk. Davis Gregory with Chris Brinkley, wrapping up with head coach of the UT Martin women's basketball team, Kevin McMillan, as the Skyhawks close out their season in the OVC tournament to Western Illinois. Leathernecks ended up making a really good run to the semifinals to play Lindenwood and came close to making it to that title game. Coach, first, just your takeaways from this 2024-25 year.
I think it was probably roller coaster would be a good way to describe it. You know, when we were good, we were good. And when we were not good, we were not good. And I think that hopefully we've learned about what it takes and doesn't take and the way you have to handle things. And if we have, we'll figure it out and we'll be fine. And if we haven't, we'll repeat it and see if we can learn from that.
Yeah. As you watch the rest of the OVC tournament, what'd you think, Western Illinois?
I didn't watch
You
any
didn't watch
of it.
any of it? Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I didn't know Western had beat Eastern. Not surprised. I mean, again, when you get to that level, you know, I think McGowan had a chance to beat Lindenwood. I think, and the best players are gonna give you a chance. And I thought the two best teams in the league this year were Lindenwood and Tennessee Tech. I thought Lindenwood was a little more consistent than Tech was because Tech had a 30-point loss.
Yeah.
Not very often you have a 30-point loss in your conference and you're going to the NCAA tournament. So, but they I think they used that 30-point loss to turn their season around, to be honest with you. So I think Tech is, you know, the best representative for our conference this year. And I think Lindenwood. Hopefully he'll go to the NIT and maybe do some damage. But they both had really, really good teams this year.
You make a good point as I think back on OVC tournaments in the past. You can have the best player in the league and not the best team. You can have the best team without the best player. If you have the best team with the best player, you're going to be pretty good. And we've seen that. We've seen that with your teams in the past, and I think of Belmont and Darby and some of the other teams.
Yeah, I think the history of the league has been usually the best team had the best player. Usually, and that's when the league. Well, that's when the league was really, really strong.
Yeah,
we're not as strong as we have been, but we're not as weak either as we have been. I think we were better this year. I think last year we were 28th or 29th. I think this year we're about 25th. I mean, still not great. It's not 15th where we were a few years ago.
Yeah.
But the league has the ability to help itself get better. You know, when you compete every single night and it's hard and you get better. What you hope that does is translate to the next year where you see some non-conference wins, and that the key for us is that we have to get better records in the non-conference. We got to beat people.
Yeah.
You know, and we didn't beat people. So I'm not saying that everybody else is wrong, but you beat people, because when you start beating yourselves up, it's this team is going up. Well, this team's going down. Yeah, once the non-conference starts, everybody's going to have a 500 record. Everybody.
Yeah.
The conferences are going to have a 500 record, so you're kind of going to hold where you are.
What's weird about that, though, is all your non-conference games are in November and December, and then you get into conference. You're not the team you're going to be in November and December, but at the same time, you don't want to step out of your conference to play a non-conference game in February.
Not at that point.
No.
You don't. But I wish that we would do – there's a lot of stuff I wish that nobody wants to listen to. But I wish the women would go to let everybody in the NCAA tournament. And, you know, I'm not for everybody gets a trophy. But that would only cause one more weekend.
You're talking about the NCAA tournament.
The NCAA tournament. Everybody gets in it. You have a play-in game like the first four, and that's going to involve quite a few teams. And you go from 360 down to 256 in the play-in games. Well, then you go 256 down to 128, 128 down to 64, and you're in. And think about what that would do. I mean, there would be so much excitement. And
there would be.
You seed, everybody's seeded 1 through 350. So you're playing. I mean, it would be.
That'd be crazy.
That would be probably the best the women's game could do to generate March Madness like the men do.
And then even if you could, would you have it all at neutral? Try to have it at neutral sites, or do you want?
You wouldn't have to do that. Okay. You could play it at home sites.
Yeah.
And if you're worried about money.
Well, that gives the regular season significance. I mean, there has to be significance to your regular season record.
So you could go the first, it doesn't matter, trip for weekend games. You go to the higher seed. So playing games go to the higher seeds.
That would be fun.
You know, the 256 goes to the higher seeds. The 128, you go to the higher seeds. Well, then 64 can go and do what we do now. You go to the top 16 seeds places, and then it just, you know.
I don't think there's a tournament that big. Maybe the World Series of Poker that has that many participants in it, but no, I mean, no other tournament that has that many.
Well, I'm not for everybody gets a trophy. I don't want to come across being that way, because I don't believe in it. But essentially, we have that now. You know, everybody goes to their conference tournaments, and the conference tournaments goes into the This would actually save money.
So you scratch the conference?
Scratch the conference tournaments. You don't need the conference tournaments.
You're right.
Because everybody
that's what I was about to ask.
You just seed at the end of the season. You seed us, and here we go.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to have to spend money at the conference tournaments. So you're saving that money. You're going to play those games at home sites. You're going to save more money. Instead of going and playing 3 or 4 days, you're playing one. I mean, I don't know, but who am I to save money?
It's a really interesting concept.
Make it.
Yeah.
I've got one about what would you do with the regular season championship? Would that have any meaning if you won that as terms of seeding? And
the regular season champion would automatically get something. Okay. You know, this seed or that seed or this home side or whatever. Something. But the regular season champion is harder than the tournament.
Yes. Yeah.
Much harder.
Yeah.
So I think they need to get rewarded for that. And so maybe regular season champions can't be in the play-in games. You know, So I don't, you could come up with something. It'll never happen. It'll never happen.
Very cool, though. With this year, I asked Coach Shulman this. What was your best performance this year as a team? What's the one game you wish you had back, and what game will you remember 10 to 20 years from now?
Start with the first question again.
What game do you wish you had back? Let's go with that one. Yeah, which game?
North Alabama, the first game of the season.
Play that one over.
Yeah, let's start the whole thing over.
Yeah. What was your most complete game? What was your best performance?
Probably Southern Indiana at home.
Yeah, that was good.
If you changed the wording there on me. You ended up saying most complete.
What was your best game?
Best game would have been 3.5 quarters at Butler.
Okay.
I mean, that was our best.
Yeah.
And then our most complete would have probably then been Southern Indiana.
And then what game will you remember 20 years from now, just because of something that happened?
Probably Moorhead here.
Yeah.
Because it was the worst loss in my history as a coach.
Yeah. And see, I'll remember Moorhead there.
Yeah.
That's the difference between the coach and the broadcaster.
I'll remember the worst home loss.
Yeah.
Even when I played 6 walk-ons, this was the worst home loss. That one will stick with me.
Yeah. Okay.
Just will.
Getting into the off season first, how much time do you give yourself to rest and recover from the season and before you get back to work and developing and then also recruiting?
You talking about staff?
Yes.
Zero. Because unfortunately this is a hotbed time for us in recruiting, so you don't get to take anything off. You try to recharge, but you don't get anything off. Our time off doesn't really hit until a little bit in late April. And then once everybody's gone home in May, you get a little bit. With the players, it depends on them personally. Like, what does their body need? Kinley's going to probably take a month with her shoulder off, but her legs will probably take 2 weeks and start doing stuff. So it's what does that individual need to be the best that they can be, and it varies. 2 weeks is a guide. Most of the years, we've given our kids 3 or 4 weeks to try to recharge. This year we've got spring break coming up in 2 weeks, and so probably when they get back from spring break, we will kick it into gear. So it just depends. Whenever this season is officially over, you got to do something to get yourselves ready for the next one. And what you want to know is, what do we need to do? Where do we need to go? I mean, you got to figure all this stuff out, and you got to do it in a very short amount of time.
Yeah. And you're actually doing it, the teams that don't make it to the tournament or your conference tournament's a week earlier, you're doing it, most of the OVC teams are doing it before other teams are, preparing for the next season.
You can.
Is that an advantage?
No.
Okay, not at all. Yeah.
It is in the short run, but in the long run, no, it doesn't matter. You're talking about days in a year. What does 2 days in a whole year matter?
Yeah,
it doesn't matter
not much.
Not much.
To this new world of recruiting and NIL and the transfer portal, how do you attack that, and how have you adapted to that over the past couple of years since that's been a relatively new thing?
Well, I haven't. I haven't adapted to it. I've fought it, and I think I gave it. This was it for me this year. This was my test year, and I think what I learned this year is, as much as I don't like it, and I don't like the way college basketball is heading. It does not fit with what I believe in. That's what these kids are now. It just is. So you don't have a choice. Like, you can't say, well, I'm not going to allow y'all to have smartphones because I don't like them. Okay, tough. It is what it is. So we're going to have to start adjusting and changing. And so we're going to have to start looking at older kids, because that's what everyone is doing. The biggest change in our world is now everyone is playing juniors and seniors every single year.
Yeah.
You do not see teams playing freshmen and sophomores. So we've been doing that to try to build and get to where we need to be. And at the end of the day, it has not worked. So we've got to kind of figure out why it didn't work. We got to figure out what we need to do going forward. But we're going to have to recruit older kids to compete against older kids. And I don't know how that's going to look yet. I don't know if we're going to talk about junior college maybe. You look at transfers. You're looking at foreign kids. Those are the 3 areas that are different from what we've been doing. And we're just going to have to figure out what formula/system works best for us and the way we look at it.
Your 5 new high school signees, when do they come? I know that they've still got their season to go, and some of them with state championships and everything like that, but when do they come in and start to get acclimated to the program?
They'll be here for our junior high camp, which starts on the day after Memorial Day. And I will be I go to meet with them as they lose and kind of talk to them about what they need to do from now until then. And you want the same thing for them. Like we had a young lady that lost 2 nights ago in her state Final Four and played great, so she's all disappointed and whatever. And she told me, she said, well, I think we may get back in the gym next week. And I kind of went, maybe take a little bit longer to get yourself recharged. But if that's what she's used to, then okay. And you just want them doing the same kinds of stuff that your kids are doing so that when they come in, they're all kind of on the same page. When we've got different positions all coming in, and hopefully you can get all those kids on the same page very quickly, because it's a pretty good looking class. I mean, there's 2 guards that can put the ball in the hole. There's 2 post players that kind of own their position, and then there's kind of a utility person that can go in and out. And if they embrace those roles, life could be pretty good, because you're talking about 6'2", 6'1", 6 foot, 5'10", 5'10".
Wow.
And so if they come in and do, then we'll be fine. If they come in and they're freshmen, it's going to take a while. So May the 24th or 25th, whatever that is, right after then we'll be here a couple of weeks, and they go home for a couple of weeks, and they come back for a couple of weeks. Then they're gone for like a month, and then they do it again, a couple of weeks here, a couple of weeks home, a couple of weeks here. I like them to go home as much as they can in the summer. I want them to have their summers. I do the same thing in the fall. Most schools don't do that. They kind of keep them from either all summer or an entire 6-week summer session. I guess we could, but I kind of like them going home more. So we'll see how quickly this new group gets adjusted. Could be quick. It could be slow. I don't know.
Yeah. And to the start of the year, you were telling us about some of your vocal issues that you were having.
Yep.
Now you get time to, I guess, recharge, rest your voice now.
Well, we're going to go I got to go see if the doc wants to have surgery on it. So that'll be in a week or so. I got to go and let her tell us what we're going to do. But it's basically, I'm not going to do the whole insurance world thing, which is you go see Dr. 1, and then you got to go see Dr. 2, and then you got to ask the insurance if you can do it. Then insurance comes back, then they schedule you, and it's like 3 months after that you get surgery. If I'm not okay on the day after Memorial Day, then I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to like, Doc, if you want me to have surgery and it's a 6-week recovery, well, if you say it's going to be past April the 3rd, I'm out, because I'm not going to start. We're not doing this. I will take this voice and I'll rest it up and get it ready, and then I'm going to push it until next year, and we can schedule it earlier. But
because if you have the surgery, and we both know a person who's had the surgery, I don't know if it'd be the same surgery you had. You literally wear a sign that says I'm on vocal rest, so you don't talk.
You can't talk
for how long?
It depends. It's like 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah, without speaking.
So
you have carry a little notepad or a whiteboard, or you learn. Yeah, but I don't know. I can't imagine what a human would learn without speaking for 6 weeks.
Probably a lot.
Because you have 2 ears, 1 mouth.
Probably a lot.
But you can't do that in your occupation.
Well, the problem for me is going to be recruiting.
Yeah.
Because I cannot talk to these kids during that 6 to 8 week period. I just can't.
Yeah.
So,
but are you doing more damage by not having the surgery, or are you just prolonging?
Or is it as bad
I don't think so. I think I did some really good stuff. They helped me with some rehab stuff that got going pretty good, and then I got off a routine, so it kind of was And then, to be honest, once she said you're probably going to have surgery, I kind of quit. I was like, okay, fine. Well, then I'm not going to worry about this anymore. Yeah. If she says that now, I will kick rehab back into gear really hard. Yeah. Just to say, okay, I got to get through the next year. Yeah. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
I mean, you can't. Yeah. It's not like you can say, well, I don't like it. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but hopefully I'll know more. I've got in a couple of weeks. I got to go back and see her, and she's really good, lady at Vanderbilt. And we'll, whatever the doc
They probably
says.
make these contraptions now where you could have a speaker on your body somewhere, and you could just type it, and then it would
talk
and
for
it
you.
would say you need to finish close to the basket.
I want one. I need one where I can just think it.
Yeah. You do not have enough arc on your 3-point shot, and then it would say.
Yeah, you can. I can imagine if I was in there and couldn't talk.
but if
and they're shooting, and I'm going.
If everything you thought came through that speaker,
That would not be good.
Not good. We talk about that with our players. We talk about the internal voice that we all have.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, would you want everyone to hear your internal voice? And they all were like, oh, no, absolutely not. I'm like, then why do we listen to it?
Yeah.
Because it's inherently negative.
Yes.
And so we try to get them to go, okay, don't listen to that.
Yeah.
You got to get out of your own
And
head.
we say terrible things to ourselves that
Yep.
we would never say to another human we loved
Yep.
or cared about.
Yep.
Yeah.
But we do.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, imagine if all your thoughts went up on the scoreboard. That's an example we give them. All your
good.
thoughts go up on the scoreboard.
Yeah,
oh,
that's good.
Lord.
That's good.
that would
I'd probably
a good
be
thing.
home right now.
Yeah, probably so. Yeah.
Chris would be done for it. It'd be over with. Final question, Coach. Any off-season plans, vacations you're going on, fishing, anything?
I always go fishing. So
What's your personal best? What's the biggest fish you've ever caught? I was thinking about this.
Getting a deep dive conversation here.
I've
the best
just started
story-
fishing. I've just started fishing.
Okay. Well, the best. I don't like fishing anymore. I like catching.
Okay.
I'm too old to fish.
No.
The best story I got is Wes Kennedy, my longtime friend, and I were going to fish in a tournament in Arkansas on Horseshoe Lake, just across from Memphis. And the tournament was on a Saturday and a Sunday, and so he and I was like, let's go fishing. Okay. Well, we went over on a Thursday to fish it and just kind of get the layout of the lake. And so we go to pull into the bait shop to get our licenses, and it's closed. So we're like, oh crap. We're here. Let's just run out there and fish it. We'll get the license tomorrow and we'll be good.
You're scouting the lake.
Scouting lake. So we got out there and we fished, and we kind of jumped around. There were a lot of people doing the same thing. And we weren't really trying to catch fish, but we were just looking for places we were going to go. So we'd been out there for about an hour, and we were strolling down a bank, and I saw a gigantic fish. And I went, there's no way he's going to bite. So I threw out there, twitched it a couple of times, and she hit it. And she caused a lot of commotion, and I caught it. And it weighed over 10 pounds, a largemouth bass. Biggest fish I'd ever caught. Well, 2 boats down, there was a game warden that was just out there. So he saw me catch the fish, and I'm messing with it, and he comes over. Oh my gosh, that is an unbelievable fish. I did not see one like that in forever. We're like, yeah, I don't know what we're going to do. And I don't know what we're going to do. He said, yeah, and by the way, can I see y'all's license?
Oh.
You told him they were closed, right?
We told him what we were doing. We were honest with him. Yeah. $350 fish.
No
Oh
way.
my
It's that
God.
much?
$350 fish.
My goodness.
And he said, guys, I got to write you a ticket for this. And we were like, okay. He said, you can keep the fish. I was like, how about I put the fish back? Because I wasn't going to keep the fish. So, yeah, it was a $350 fish.
Did you both get fined?
Yes.
Wow.
Yep.
And they fine you even if you haven't caught a fish?
Yeah.
And just being there?
Yep.
Okay.
Needless to say, we did not go back the next day and fish tournament. We didn't have any money. So that's my biggest fish story.
Yeah.
How come I can't have a good one? I've always got something.
There's always a
twists and
catch.
turns, yeah.
Always something else. Always.
My last. This is just out of my own personal interest. Bait caster or spinning reel? Which one
It
are you using?
depends what I'm using, what lure I'm using.
Okay.
If I'm fishing with rattle traps, I throw a spinning reel because it throws further, and I'm knowing it as far away as I can get. Anything else, I'm going to throw a bait caster.
Okay.
Anything else. So.
There we go. That's
Yeah.
now I have that information in my brain.
That's
We're ready
right.
to go.
And scum frog is my favorite bait. And
What is?
it's
Scum
called a
frog?
scum frog.
Okay.
And it's because of where we fish, where I mostly fish in Texas and in Minnesota. the moss and the algae and stuff and the weeds and grass are growing. Well, this is called a scum frog
What's
because
it look like?
it looks like a little frog.
Okay.
It's just a piece of plastic that's about 2 inches long that looks like kind of a frog, and it's got a tail that's just got like a spinnerbait back, which just flutters. And so when you throw it out, you can literally fish it over moss and stuff. It doesn't get hung.
Really?
Doesn't get any moss on it.
Yeah.
It'll fish that way. So it's called a scum frog. So sometimes you have to fish it because you can't throw anything else in that area. So the best part of it though is that fish, when they hit it, it's an absolute eruption, and it's so much fun to watch. And we've had fish that would jump out of the water, turn and dive and go straight and grab the frog on their way down.
Wow.
And whenever you get one that does it, it's really neat. And you'll see, because it's a surface lure, you'll see fish swimming to it. So like you're sitting here and all of a sudden you see this wake come from 20 feet away, and it comes to your lure, and it's just sitting there. So we'll tell each other, oh, here comes one, get ready. And you'll sit there with it, and you'll twitch it one more time, and it's just like an eruption. So that's my favorite way to fish.
Have you embraced the technology with the cameras and the depth finders?
No. When we fish, we'll fish with young kids. Wes and I will be fishing with young kids, and they'll have all the technology, and they'll be fishing. And they'll say, well, where do we go? And we're like, okay, you start up close to the bank, and you start moving out. As long as you see grass, okay, when you can't see grass anymore, stop right there and start fishing. And they're like, well, how deep is that? And we both, I don't know. Whenever you can't see the grass. And they're like, well, on the monitor. We're like, what monitor? We're like, we don't know what you're talking about. So, yeah, no, I have not embraced the new technology.
It's gotten pretty sophisticated.
It has got, I'm going to tell you, I've seen some of the stuff. And what they are able to do is literally amazing, like amazing. I think crappie fishing, probably it's the biggest impact on crappie fishing.
Really? Okay.
And I've watched some crappie fishermen talk about their stuff, and I literally am going, okay, that is really cool. Yeah. So,
but even if we got it for you for Christmas,
I wouldn't know how to use it. No, I wouldn't.
Same thing with the iPhone.
Same thing.
Last year.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. You know, I'm gonna go find the grass.
Yeah.
That's where I'm gonna fish.
Yeah.
If I don't catch them, I'll go find some more grass.
Okay.
Well, Coach, we wish you many more 10-pound largemouth bass and Reese's cups.
Never know.
In the off season. We'll talk to you here soon. Thanks,
All
Coach.
right, thanks, guys.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
Skyhawk Sports Talk Podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.
Davis Gregory here with Chris Brinkley as we wrap things up from Skyhawk Sports Talk here at Zaxby's in Martin, Tennessee. Another great episode, Chris. Always, bittersweet moment, of course. Yes, great time talking with Coach McMillan about fishing and Coach Shulman, too. Always bittersweet whenever we say goodbye to basketball. Rather see you later to basketball season, but always a fun episode. I want to thank Coach Shulman, Coach McMillan for coming on with us throughout the year.
Great season.
It was a very entertaining, very fun season for both of them as we're going to go ahead and sign off here on Skyhawk Sports Talk. When we come back next week, more content coming for you all. Chris, any final thoughts?
No, go to utmsports.com, ovcsports.com. Follow UT Martin on all the social media outlets.
And for Chris Brinkley, myself, Davis Gregory, all our coaches and student athletes we've had on here today, we say God bless here from Zaxby's in Martin, Tennessee.
If I quit this season, I still be the greatest.
Skyhawk Sports Talk Podcast is brought to you by Weekly Ford Nissan.